Welcome back to the D and A Pest Control podcast. I hope everyone's excited today.
I am.
For this awesome episode.
Yeah.
We already had a good one with Michael.
Mm-hmm.
Always good to have technicians on. I always love to have guests, especially because it's just a different look at the world, different look at the pest control industry, different on every single level. And it really helps pull people into perspective of what you're doing is so tiny compared to what we can do.
Of course.
You know? So today is actually a cool one. Aaron has no idea what's going on. We've already done one episode like that.
Okay.
Now we get to do another one like that. And I was thinking a lot about this episode and just kind of giving this good content to people, partially because I want to know some stuff.
Yeah.
But I think it's also good that they really get to know who you are.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So today's episode is actually about you.
Oh, wow.
So let's do a little interview.
Let's do it.
Okay. You are not prepared.
Not at all. Not at all. I knew you had something because, you know, we kind of planned out the episodes beforehand. I'm like, hey, what are we going to do when we record? He's like, don't worry. I got something for you.
I got it.
Yeah.
Okay. So Aaron, tell us a little bit about you. I know we had a little episode about it, but this is going to be a full one about you.
Okay.
I want the listeners to know who you are, kind of what pulled you into this industry, what kind of happened, just kind of your story. And then I have some questions on top of that.
Sure.
So let's hear about Aaron.
Yeah. Let's start from just my professional career. You know, I mean, when we talk about it, my whole life has been sales, or at least I've been drawn to that. Something I've always been good at, you know, to provide for me and my family. And it's something that I enjoy doing.
Yeah.
You know, not necessarily for like the money side of it, but the interaction side of it. You know, I really started getting into like the behavioral science of like negotiations and closing a deal and reading body language. And it came a lot more natural for me than most people, you know, in high school, I was like never the best student, you know, but I felt like I had really good connections and relationships with a lot of like students and teachers that allowed me to open a lot of doors that normally wouldn't be there for not a straight A student.
Yeah.
You know, and even before that, I think that comes with my weight loss. I don't know if I've ever talked about it on here, but even on my phone, I mean, you see it. My background is an old picture of me. I was pretty obese for most of my life. You know, that's a nice way of saying it.
I've seen fatter people.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm a little taller and I played sports, so it didn't look as it, but my heaviest, I was 320 pounds, right? Right after high school, some things in my personal life happened. My girlfriend and I at the time split up, and I was more determined than I ever have been in my life to lose the weight.
Yeah.
Right. And that kind of started this like self-improvement, reflecting, investing in myself kind of a journey, which kind of carried over into sales. Cause obviously the confidence started getting there. The door started opening with that. It was like a whole new playing field and dating at the time, because I was so heavy and I didn't have the confidence. And then, I lost all the weight and it was like a new world. And, and something on that too, it's kind of interesting because a lot of the things I dealt with when I was so heavy and overweight, in my mind, I thought, okay, once I lose the weight, my life's going to be 10 times better. And I lost the weight and my life was exactly the same. I was just a lot healthier.
You were just a skinnier version. Yeah. Still sucky. Yeah. Skinnier version.
No, but that taught me it's like you have to create it.
You do.
Yeah. And something that I don't recommend is I did jump a lot from sales jobs to sales jobs because I didn't find what I was passionate about.
Well, so let's back up.
Yeah.
Before we get too far into this.
Yeah, you let me have the mic, so I was going with it.
No, I'm okay with that because this is stuff that I want to know.
Yeah.
Right? So now, did you get into sales because you were kind of forced into it, or did you get into sales because the opportunity was there? Was it a little bit of both? What was the whole purpose behind it? What was the driving force? Because nobody wants to go into sales.
Yeah. Okay, that's true.
Okay.
That's true.
I'm going to throw that out there right now. Right. No one's like, I want to grow up to be a salesman.
Yeah.
It's just, it doesn't really, I mean, maybe there are some weirdos out there,
yeah.
which is, you know, that's not a bad thing. I think that's awesome. But what was that?
Well, it probably started from my very, very first job before even that trench job I talk about.
Okay.
I sold Cutco knives.
Okay.
So they came out to, I don't know if it was the high school or at the time when I was going to the community college.
So you were, 18, 17, 18?
18.
18. Okay.
And I was still heavy at the time.
Okay.
Right. And I don't even remember how. I think it maybe been like an ad on Craigslist. I was looking for a little bit more money, you know, because I was determined to move out when I turned 18, and I did.
Okay.
You know, which was great. So it must have been a little bit beforehand, you know, because I remember I was still living at home when I was doing it. But basically, for all you ex-Cutco sellers out there, you know the drill. But any kind of marketing like that, it's like you get paid to do like a promotional, like, hey, look at my stuff. You don't have to buy it, but just you watching me do my presentation, I get a little like flat rate. I think it was like $15 at the time.
Oh, okay.
Right. And they kind of use that to like, just like, I don't want to say scheme, but get people to see the products. And I was selling.
Yeah.
I was doing really good.
Yeah.
And out of nowhere, I would get these texts from like the sales manager at the time, like, hey, you should come in and do some training. And then like, I remember I was standing in front of like a group of new people, and it's like, what am I doing? It's like, I was just training all these people, you know?
They just pulled you in and said, hey, you're going to be the trainer.
But to answer your question, I learned very easily. It's like, I can create my paycheck, my schedule, my lifestyle.
Yeah.
At that time, it was about 2012. So, you know, 2008, you know, everything dipped down, starting to come back up, and like kind of real estate was on my mind. And like, I was getting at like the fitness, personal training side of things. And it's like, I don't know what I want to do. I just know I want to have the ability to create my life with my sales and like interpersonal skills, along with the sales and negotiation side of it.
Gotcha. Okay. So it was more of a fluke in the beginning. It was, I want to make good money.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Or I want to make more money. And that just happened to be that thing that got you sucked in.
Yeah.
And then from there, you started to learn, okay, wait a minute. Now that I'm doing the sales side of things, I have a lot I can work with. I can have the freedom. I can have the money. I can have the lifestyle. Okay. Okay. That makes more sense.
Yeah. And of the massive amount of sales jobs I have done, it's like, I've enjoyed them all. It's like, I never really hated one. I mean, Cutco is a little out there, but like, you know, when I tell people I've been in sales for like a decade now, they're like, oh, what have you sold? And it's like, big breath in. It's like, okay, knives, furniture, Kirby vacuums. Any of you door-to-door Kirby vacuum salesmen? I still have my 3 sale keychain.
Oh my gosh.
Like insurance, gym memberships, which is where you and I met.
Hopefully not magazines.
No, not magazines.
Good, because usually those guys are cokeheads.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, they do.
God.
Yeah.
Well, it's like, who's buying a magazine nowadays? That's like the...
Yeah, well, quick side story on that. Talking about sales and door-to-door sales, we had a group of magazine salesmen come into our office to do security sales. Different world, okay? Magazine is like you're a rock star type thing, and they just go pick up a bunch of hookers, and they stay in hotels, and it's like literally the slum of the slum. Anyway, these guys came in, got super drugged one night. Buddy killed another buddy. Stabbed him like 18 times, all over the news in Elk Grove. When
was this?
2014? Maybe.
Oh my God.
Let's see. No. Maybe 2010 or 2011. But it was all over the news, yeah. And I worked with those guys.
Wow.
Same knife that this guy killed the guy with, he was cutting vegetables in our barbecue. That's how crazy that was. Sorry for the side note, but yeah.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, crazy
That's
stuff.
Insane.
Crazy stuff happens when you do sales.
That is insane. And then...
So pretty much everything. You've sold almost everything.
Yeah. And I forgot to mention a big block of that. I worked for a paint company, and I had a great experience there too. Worked there for about 5 years. And I ended up working from a driver all the way up to like a store manager, and ended up doing some more of the sales stuff on there. But the ladder to the way up was very, very capped, you know, and we talked about that with some of these old technicians. It's like, you're basically waiting for that person to retire or die before you give up, you know, unfortunately.
Yeah, I could see that. I can see that in a lot of cases. And that's where I think a lot of guys get drawn into sales too, even when I've done it. Because I had a guy he was a manager, and he sold, and he was doing really, really good. He graduated. He was using that money to go to college.
Oh, yeah.
Graduated, and then went and got a 9-to-5 job, paying him literally a percentage of what he was making in 4 months.
Yeah.
And he did that for about a year, and he's like, why am I doing this? I'm getting less money, putting in more time. It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
You know, so then he went right back the next year. He only lasted a year, and then he went back to making 250, 300,000 in 4 months. And he was making like 70 grand. That was his starting pay.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And he was like, this is terrible. I have no freedom. I have nothing, you know? So it is interesting. You know, it's scary. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's rough, you know, but if you're good at it and you can do it, it can be very rewarding.
Yeah. And just navigating through all these sales jobs, there is always a principle that I've tried to use to find what I want to end up doing. I don't know if you ever heard of it. It's like a Japanese concept called ikigai. And it's like it's like it translates to your reason for being, right? So you find like, what are you good at? What does the world need? Can it take care of your family? And there's another concept, but you list out all these different things in each column, and wherever that kind of coincides is what you should be doing, right? So it's like, what do you love to do? What are you good at? It's like interaction with people, right? Can I provide for your family? Can I provide for your living? It's like, yes, I can sell, I can make money, I can grow, create my own schedule. It's perfect. What does the world need? It's like, you know, the world did need paint. It does need gym memberships. It needs pest control.
Yeah.
Cool. You know what I mean? So I kind of use that to navigate.
Okay. So so you went through high school, lost all the weight, started changing your life. Still not what you thought it was going to be, because you lost all the weight, and you're like, crap. Okay. You get into sales. You start doing the sales thing. You're jumping. I'm assuming you're getting paid more as this is progressing.
Yes.
And then you hit 24-hour. Just so everyone knows now. I probably wasn't supposed to say that, but
that's okay. This is a pest control podcast. We're okay.
Yeah, it doesn't matter, right? So you're working there. You're doing the gym membership thing. What brought you to that point? You know, because you were, I mean, at least from mine, you know, you went from the paint, you know, and you were up in, I mean, you were management, right?
Yeah.
So what brought you from there to the next?
Okay, good question. So maybe the timeline could have been explained a little bit better. After the paint store, I wanted something where it was more of straight commission, right?
Okay.
I wanted something where I can really just hustle and make a living with that, which I found in the furniture business.
Oh, okay.
Right. So they had this opening at a kind of a local mom and pop furniture store where somebody I knew was making a killing, right?
Okay.
And at that point in my life, I wasn't so passionate about the paint place, right? Even though they treated me well, I wanted to make more. I wanted to start, you know, I was looking at like buying a house soon. So I just needed, at the time, I wanted more money.
Okay. So you were drawn into that because of the money factor behind it. So you're like, look, I'm going to leave this opportunity to pursue this one because there's more potential money.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
And just like a side note, for most of my life, and I'm glad I don't think this way anymore, but it's like, I was just like a dog chasing after food when it came to money.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
It's like I could have been insanely happy at a job, good opportunity, but if somebody came by and was like, hey, I'll give you $500 more a month to do this, and there's more commission, it's like, done.
Go.
Done.
Go.
I wouldn't even think twice about it.
Okay.
And I don't know where that came from, but it's like I felt like I always needed to keep ascending my pay, when really it's like that would have come naturally if I just kept ascending in the company.
But people do confuse that, you know, and I think that's really natural. So you can't, I mean, you know, hold it against you too much, but because
I'm here now, so
yeah, well, but people do that. You know, people don't realize the time that you spend at each place, the more time you dedicate yourself in whatever area you're in, You know, like you said, is this going to provide for my family? Is this going to work? Blah, blah, blah. You know, and then you find that place that's going to do that. The reward comes, which is crazy. But most people will chase that. Where am I going to make a little bit more? And their raise comes from a company switch.
Yeah.
Not getting raised up in a company, not growing in a company. It's because you switch companies.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, you hit the reset button every time you switch. Almost, you know, in some cases. So I can see that though. But most people do fall into that. They fall into that and they just jump.
Exactly.
What made that change though? What made you think differently in that? Because you went to the furniture store because you were just chasing money. So you were there for, I would assume, I mean, how long?
Between the two of them, see, and again, even in the furniture store, there was two of them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I started a little mom and pop shop, ended up at RC Willie.
Okay.
Which, you know what I mean? Everybody kind of knows that. That between those two is about 2 years in the furniture business.
Okay.
And towards the end of that, I ended up, my grandma got a little kind of sick. Right?
Okay.
And I ended up staying home a little bit more and trying to balance it out. And at the time, I wanted to stay at home more. Right.
Yeah. Okay.
So I ended up making that decision and had real good conversations with my managers at the time because, you know, we had great relationships too. And there was no hard feelings either way. I wanted to make sure they knew it's like, hey, this is I'm stepping away for personal reasons.
So you left.
I left.
Okay. Okay.
And that was about a year and a half ago. And once my grandma started doing a little bit better, I tried to be a little bit more true to myself. And it's like, what do I love to do? And it's like, I love the gym.
Okay.
Right. So I actually had somebody I knew that worked at this gym that's close to the office here.
Okay.
And that's, you know, how you and I met. But basically I got on just to be entry level and I didn't care. I wanted to work in there and I just loved the culture of the gym. Not a huge fan of how things were ran, but I loved interactions with all the members.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And I mean, you saw it too. It's like, I really enjoyed my coworkers and the people that were coming in, but it wasn't providing enough, but I enjoyed what I did there so much that didn't matter at the time.
Yeah. Yeah. I can see that. And people don't know that until you get into something that you do enjoy or you get into something you hate.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, it's so much better over there.
Yeah.
Or it's so much nicer in that, you know, in that situation because I actually enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I may not make as much, but I enjoyed it. Where you make more and it's like, dude, this sucks. You end up walking away from it.
Dude, the crazy thing too, I was just talking to somebody about this. So right before you and I started talking about me coming over here, I was pushing hard to move up.
Yeah.
Right. And there were like a couple of management positions opening up and the assistant manager, the sales manager at this one had left. And it's like, everyone was like, dude, that's your spot. Like, this is already like your domain. It's like interview and take it. And it's like, oh, I already scheduled the interview and everything. Yeah. And I showed up and I basically laid everything out. I wasn't cocky, but I was like, this is why it makes the most sense for me to be in this position. Yeah. Right. You're going to try to bring in somebody new. The staff here need somebody that can like keep a cohesive team. It's like, I went through the budget. I went through everything. Yeah. And they said, you know what? Unfortunately, we need to give it to somebody who's been just in the company a little bit longer, just because they've been in the company a little bit longer. Wow. You hired me here. A week later, they called me and said, hey, we actually have an opening at the Elk Grove one by your house. We'd love to have you there as an assistant manager. Oh. And that's when, that was still at the time I was kind of working both places and I was like, I can't. Yeah. It's like, I have to see this through here. Okay. I have to give it an honest shot.
Okay, so now I got to ask you questions that my wife would want me to ask.
All right, let's hear it.
Because now she always is like, we got to ask him. We got to know. When we talked to you, what were you thinking?
Oh, I was thinking it was garbage.
Really?
Yeah, dude. You know how many times I would get approached at the gym by some of the members, like first time they come in, it's like, hey, how you doing? Second time, it's like, hey, how long have you been here? It's like, do you go to school? Yeah. What do you have going on? It's like, okay, the next time it's like, hey, so I have a solar company and I want you to come check it out. Yeah. Or it's like, I have a consulting company or I have a XYZ company that's not multi-level marketing, but really it's just multi-level marketing.
Is it that taller guy, skinnier?
Yeah.
White guy?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I've talked to him too.
Oh yeah. He's persistent.
CalFit and 24 Hour.
Oh no.
Oh yeah, he goes everywhere.
Oh man. Well, at least he's putting in the work.
Kind of.
But point being, I take it with a grain of salt, right? But a lot of times people would come to me and offer me these things like, hey, you should come check out my company, this and that. But
so did you ever go on interviews with those people? Did you ever meet up with them? Why'd you do that with us then?
Because you guys cared. I mean, you guys cared enough to text me back and do that.
Oh, okay.
Because I would kind of throw it in their court too.
Oh.
In terms of like they would reach out. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, hey, here's my number. Shoot me a text and we'll get something on.
Oh, okay.
And then I can't remember the way that your wife worded it, but she was just like, she gave me the card, and obviously I talked to you. I didn't know a lot about you guys, but me and Presley were seeing you guys like almost every night during the week.
Yeah.
So it was cool enough. It's like, okay, they're regulars, and from what I can tell, they're decent, people, and I don't think they would try to steer me in a way. I was like, let me just see what's going on.
Yeah.
A little bit came from the frustration of the lack of moving up, right?
Oh, okay.
So I think that kind of sparked it out. I was like, let's hear you out. Let's talk, right?
Okay.
And then I came to the office. You kind of told me more about the business, and then we met and had lunch, and it's like, okay, like there's actually...
Well, and let's talk about lunch.
Okay.
This is when I'm pulling 24-hour shift. I'm literally on like 0 sleep and we meet up.
Yeah,
I couldn't even talk.
I know.
I remember doing that, and I'm like, I don't even know if he understood what I was saying.
Yeah.
Because it was just like, dude, I'm not, like, I didn't sleep.
Yeah.
So
I remember you even said, you were like, yeah, I couldn't sleep. And just involuntarily, I was like, yeah, I could tell. And I said that, I was like, oh, shit. Probably shouldn't have said it like that. But
no, I mean, I'm sure I looked terrible because it was like, dude, I didn't. But what did you think through that too?
Basically, I wanted to see if you were authentic.
Okay.
Right? Because I think authenticity is very rare, and the willingness to push is always talked about but never actually done.
Yeah.
And here I am sitting across from a business owner, an owner with a bunch of technicians who had plenty of resources to send somebody else to do it, to send somebody else to talk to me, to push the interview out. Mm-hmm. And it's like, no, we set a date and a time.
Yeah.
You made it.
Yeah.
You were straight up. You told me most of the bad things, but you told me the bad and the good.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what I was really looking for.
Okay.
Just kind of gauging the authenticity there. And I mean, I can tell you do the same thing on a lot of initial contacts, which, and it's kind of going back and forth, but like I can tell that you were doing the same thing, which kind of made me realize like how seriously you were taking bringing me on.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Which to me, I was like, okay, this is something I know that if I do pursue it, I'm going to have the resources to succeed and feel free to do what I need to do to, thrive here.
Oh, cool. Okay. So then coming on, you took that leap, which is cool.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that. So you jumped on, you took that leap to get on, then what? Because, I saw a lot of stuff. I was seeing it, and I was even voicing it to my wife. I'm like, I don't know if this is going to work out. I don't like the answers I'm hearing.
Yeah.
Like I ask you, how's it going? It's like, well, it's all right.
I'm not a good liar.
No, you're terrible.
Yeah.
You're a terrible liar.
Which is a good thing. But no, I got in the office and I knew that there were some issues with some of the office staff and the technicians and the way things were ran. I just didn't know to what severity or how deeply rooted it was.
Yeah.
So just for anybody who doesn't really know, like I got hired in to basically work / kind of run the office eventually. And somebody had already been there for about a year and a half.
2 years.
Okay.
Because she left shortly after you came on.
Yeah. So basically I sat in the chair and I looked across at this person and said, hey, I need you to train me to take your job. I didn't care because it's business, right? And it's like you saw a need for it to come in. I am a professional. I understand that I'm here to do a certain job.
Yep.
That's life.
Yeah.
She did not see it that way.
No.
It was taken very personally on her end. And I didn't like lose sleep over it, but I knew that like me and her working side by side, one of us had to go, or one of us had to at least not be in the office at that time.
That usually happens in most cases when someone gets put into a management role that's newer than somebody else, in the company. Usually that starts to disrupt and cause problems with other people unless they have qualifications, right? If I bring someone on to be an accountant, you can't really be mad about that. Yeah. You don't have any background in that. So you look at that as it's okay. But if I brought someone in to take your position as a sales, you would say, wait a minute, like you're just bringing in a brand new guy. Now it'd be different if I was like, look at this guy. Look, he's in Forbes magazine. You'd be like, oh shit. Okay. I could learn a lot from this guy.
Seriously.
Bring him on.
Yeah.
So I think there is that difference where there is no qualification there necessarily. And I think she took it as that.
Yeah.
Is I've been here for 2 years. You came in fresh. What do you have that I don't?
Yeah.
And in her eyes, there was nothing brought to her attention.
Yeah. And I mean, I think I've showed you, because I took really thorough notes. Like when I first got here, I was like, all right, I need to dissect everything. I need to see what's good, what's bad, where can I fit in to help. And the biggest thing was just like the first day my page was covered in just like communication.
Yeah.
It was horrendous. It was so bad. Not to your fault, just the way it was being executed was so poor.
No, but see, that's the thing with me. That is my fault, right? It is my fault because it's stuff that, and this is things that whoever's looking to get into business, pest control wise, be prepared to be wrong on all levels, right? I don't mind someone coming in and saying, dude, it was a shit show in here and it sucked. It did.
Yeah.
That's not news to me. I told you it sucked.
Yeah.
You didn't have to come in and tell me that. I knew the communication was terrible.
Yeah.
You saying that isn't like, well, it's not your fault. Yes, it was my fault. It was everything that, falls on me. I look at that in every level.
Okay.
Is when a technician falls short of an expectation, that's my fault. Now, if I taught them and I did everything I could have, it's not my fault. But I'm one to look at that as, did I do everything? If I didn't do everything, it's my fault.
Yeah.
If I did everything, no, now it's not my fault. Yeah. It's them. They suck. Get rid of them.
Well, I guess you hired her, so yeah, it is your fault.
It is, absolutely. Yeah. But this is another thing is, and for everybody out there, if you're going through a situation in a company and it's rough and it's not the best or whatever it is, you're going to go through that. It's not going to be perfect. There's very few businesses that are even close to perfect.
Yeah.
And there's probably none that even exist, right? There's problems in the office. There's problems in every department that exists. There's so much stuff going on. There's so many moving parts. So if you're a tech and you're like, oh, the office sucks. Yeah, it probably does, but you have to be patient.
Yeah.
It's not going to get perfect tomorrow. There's money. There's budgeted.
Yeah.
You can't hire the best of the best to come in tomorrow. We're a small company.
Yeah.
How do we do that? And in this situation, she was the best at the time for that price, and that's what we brought on. And she helped actually, which was cool. She helped grow to that next level. The problem is she fell off. She was hitting the ceiling.
And she just plateaued pretty early.
Well, she's not meant to be more than that, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And she chose that. I think she is. I think she can, and I think she could. But we choose our ceiling. We choose how far we can go. We've had technicians here that do the same thing. They hit their ceiling. There is no more.
They tell us their ceiling. I only want to spray residential houses and bugs.
Yeah.
I quote this. I am disgusted and afraid of rats and mice.
Yep.
Said that to me, and I'm like, you're in a pest control company.
You're a
he's
tech,
like, he's like, I know. But he told me, he's like, I'm telling you, I just want to spray houses, bugs. And I'm like, okay, you capped yourself.
You capped. Yep. That's it. But that's so, sorry to go. I mean, we're going off on a tangent,
okay.
but I do look at that. I do say, yes, that was my fault. And I don't take offense to it because we're working to change it. So I can't be mad if someone says, dude, your company sucks. This sucks, blah, blah, blah. It's just a reflection for me. And it's, it's hard to hear, but it's always good to hear because now it's, you're right. What can I do to do better?
Yeah.
Because if I go and I make myself better, you hear that and you say, screw you, you're crazy, you're dumb. And you stay the same. Guess who's better? I am. You're not willing to change. So I'm okay and I'm willing to hear those things.
Sure.
But anyway, sorry, back to the communication being terrible.
Yeah. No, it's just a lot of very apparent things that could change easily with people on board, right?
Yeah.
There's a few points in that sentence. It's like change easily with people on board. So we didn't have a lot of both of that at the same time.
No.
When we did, things moved and changed.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if we talk about it that much, but when I got hired on, we were on the end of the building in a smaller office, and now we're on the opposite side in a much larger facility.
Yeah.
Which, for a pest control company, you don't need a huge office space, but it's nice to have as you're bringing on more people, more technicians, salesmen, have more of a bigger warehouse.
Oh, yeah.
So that was something that was really cool to see on my end. It's like I'm watching the growth in front of my eyes.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm part of that,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So then, so I mean, kind of what happened then? Let's talk about kind of what was going on, you in the office, our conversations, what eventually ended up coming of it.
Yeah, so you were always checking in with me, just asking how it was going, and I gave you the same answer. It's going, I'm doing good, but it's going.
Yeah.
So basically, like, I'm doing my job, but it's going.
Oh, yeah.
And as we started implementing more changes and you and I started getting a little bit more aggressive on growth and, you did a good job, which I appreciated, on checking in with me regularly, because without that, I would have just zoned in, tunnel vision, just did my job and probably not enjoyed it, but seriously.
Yeah.
And that's something I have to work on too, is vocalizing that more. But, our conversations led to, the office isn't really for me.
Yeah.
And I had to really think about that. Like, even without her there, I could do a good job in the office, but it's not something that I saw myself doing long term.
Yeah.
And I wasn't here just to collect a paycheck and be out, right? It's like I wanted to be here long term.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So you had those conversations with me, confronting me saying, hey, like, what do you want to do? And we came up with it in that 30 minutes when you came into the office late that day.
Yeah.
Like, I love to do sales.
Yeah.
And you were like, well, do you want to start studying to get your branch too? And it's like, yeah, do you have the book? And I ended up going home with the book, and we submitted the info, got my packet, took my test, and I had my license a couple months after.
And we'll back up. I did have to pressure you a little bit.
Did you?
Oh, to take the test? Come on.
Let's run that back.
You were a little reluctant to take the test for a little bit.
What do you mean?
You were, I think it was correct me if I'm wrong, but it was the idea of, I think, of a position switch with the risk of not growing or possibly not making what you need to make. Because I think it was there. You were still in the office. You were hanging on. It was, did you study? Yeah, I studied. When's your test coming in? When are we doing those things? And I think it did take a little bit longer. And I don't know if there was some resistance on your side, because I don't know. I didn't actually ask you. But now I am. I'm going to put you in the hot seat. I mean, because it wasn't, you make it sound very smooth. And it does. And it went. It wasn't a big fight, but I felt that there was a little bit resistance there on jumping.
Okay. I think what you're remembering is there was a little bit of, I don't know if it was hesitation, but that was about the same time she gave us that month notice.
Oh, maybe.
Wasn't it?
Maybe, yeah.
And not saying that that's why I didn't, but I was still hesitant because I, at the time, thought secure was better. And now I know nothing is secure. And security is the last thing you should be going for when you're looking to make a living, by the way. Everything that's secure may not even be here in a couple of years. So,
well, and you know what I think it is I think people, they don't understand what personal value really means and what it really is.
Yeah.
Because secure or security or be in a secure position, that doesn't exist. And the reason why that doesn't exist is because you're not a high enough value to the company or into that position.
Yeah.
And you see that with a lot of people as they say, I want to take the secure route. Well, there is no secure route, because if you suck over here, you're going to get fired.
Yeah.
And if you move to another one, you're going to get fired. You move to another one, you get fired. Being a tech is a really secure job. There's always going to be a need for a technician.
Yeah.
You're not going to get paid a massive amount of money, most likely, unless you grow into be an operator in California or manager and stuff like that over in offices or a region. And so I think that's what it is people look at that as that secure position, but it's how good are you? How much value are you bringing?
Yeah.
That's where the security is. Because over at 24 Hour, they didn't see that. Most big corporations don't care, and they kind of shy away from it because they're all about, we have to be sensitive. We have to be careful.
Yeah.
This person has only been here for 5 months and absolutely just is killing it and is amazing. But Bob has been here for 10 years. He needs the position, even though he's lazy and he sucks and he's barely on time.
Yeah.
And that's the issue in those bigger corporations. I think they look at that, but it's really the true value is how much value you're putting in yourself.
Yeah.
And where you're at. And that's always going to be secure.
That's true. I think another point too, which might give some listeners some backstory, I just might give you some backstory on it.
Yeah.
In my head, because a couple months before you approached me about the position, I had some personal things happen in my life. And at the time, I was taking care of my grandma and my younger brother and my younger sister.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So there's 2 kids, 3 kids, including my grandma, in the house.
Yeah.
And in my mind, I thought, I was already catastrophizing my future, saying I need something where it's not going to go away. I need something that's secure. I need something that's going to be like an 8 to 5 where maybe I can get something else on the weekends and make as much money as I can so my family won't starve.
Yeah.
And that's ridiculous for those of you who are listening. It's now I'm realizing I deserve to be able to push and work in a sales position to grow something out of nothing to provide for them and show them that they can work for what they want.
Yeah.
Right. So that's kind of where my mindset was versus where it's at now.
Yeah.
I thought in my head, if I have a stable 8 to 5, family's okay. You know, it wasn't really about the money. It was about the stability.
Yeah. But it makes sense. People get into a stressful situation and they go typically, what's the easiest thing, and I've been watching, some different guys and, some of these guys are military, so they're put in difficult situations on a consistent basis. They don't get it easy. You're in war, you're getting shot at. There's explosions next to you.
Yeah.
You can't take the easy road. There is no easy road. Sometimes the easy road is we got to kill all these people in front of us.
Yeah.
That's the only way to do this. And that's how we're going to get out alive. So it's my life or your life. And usually it's their life.
Yep.
In most cases. But I think that's what we fall into is we're so comfortable in society today, and it is so easy to find a little money here and there, but it never actually materializes into something greater.
No.
And people get bored so quickly because we're in, once again, a society that everything's so instant.
Yeah.
And so I see it with, so you telling me that, I saw it with me. I saw it in what I've done and what I've done in my past. I'm seeing it currently with some friends. They start something and it just dwindles and dies. And then they start something and it dwindles and dies. And then they start something and it dwindles and dies because they think, oh, that guy's doing wedding photos and I can make so much money. Yeah, but that guy does it.
And the equipment and the experience.
And he keeps doing it.
There you go.
He hasn't stopped. He's consistently, go back, listen, consistency is key. He consistently does it every weekend, right? So yeah, there's a lot of money in it.
Yeah.
The lady in the office, right? I've talked to her a lot here, and there's so much money in this, there's so much money in that, there's so much money in this, there's so much money in that, and there's so much money in this. There's so much money in everything. but are you willing to put in the time?
Yeah.
So that's cool. That is, it's cool to hear that. But what made you switch that mindset? What brought you to that point? Because I think there's so many people, and even techs, this interview is all about you and, learning more about you. But I think this is a huge help for everybody else, because you went from that mindset, and what made you go from that mindset of jump, or I'm going to work 3-4 jobs and try to just make as much money as I can, to wait a minute. No, there's a better way.
Yeah. I think a plan, really.
Okay.
Cause it got to a certain point, at least in, my personal life, where I'm looking around and I'm like, okay, enough of this shit. It's like, I need to figure out what's going on, and I need to make sure that, like, in a few years from now, I'm going to be ready to, like, start my own family and make sure the family that I am taking care of is okay. And I'm tired of spinning my wheels. What do I need to do differently? Right.
Yeah.
So I was doing a lot of self-improvement before, but I really started diving into it a few months ago, even heavier.
Oh, okay.
And something that always sticks out from across all the other podcasts I listen to, Tony Robbins. Mm-hmm. He has this great thing. He says, you don't experience life, you experience the life you focus on.
Yeah.
And it's like, as simple as that is, I replay that over and over and over. Mm-hmm. I talked to you about my personal thing this morning, right? And I could have been like super pissed off and this and that, but it was like, this is a learning experience that I can teach my brother, so that way he understands and he's better. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I really try to take that, and where that shift came in is seeing the opportunity here, right?
Yeah.
Because right when I started transitioning into the sales side, we started transitioning into the bid side of things.
Yeah.
And it's just like, there's so much that can be created out of just grit and hard work that no other company is doing. And it's like, I can really open up paths for not only myself, but my future family. And because, we talk about it. It's you asked me, like, what do I want to do in 5 years here? And it's like, well, it depends. You know, it's like, I obviously want to still be working with people in some capacity, whether that's still a sales manager type role or a trainer or some kind of quality control type of thing. Yeah. I always see myself in that kind of role. Am I willing to step out and try something new? Absolutely. Yeah. It's just, that's so cool about here. It's like the door is so open.
Yeah. And I think that is, and for me, I've always, and I've told this, I think just a couple podcasts ago, is essentially we create our own path, right? Mm-hmm. What we're doing today is creating our future path. Yep. And that scared the shit out of me at the time I heard it, because it was like, dude, the path I'm going on, I'm going to probably die. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I'm eventually going to get in with the wrong crowd. I'm going to get stabbed in the back 18 times like that guy did, like, it's not good. It's not a good path, so for me, learning and growing and getting into that's where, I've looked at least here, and it always is good to hear that it's like, hey, it worked, because it is always scary to say, okay, we're going to try something new. Yeah. And what happens if it fails? Well, you learn, or it fails and you don't learn, and then you're just worse off because you're not willing to grow from that. Yeah. And I've always looked at it as everybody does better when they're in the best position that they possibly could be in. Yeah. Some people fake it, and they're good at faking that stuff when they shouldn't be in that, or they're lying to themselves, saying this is where I should be, but they shouldn't be. And I saw that, and luckily I had that conversation with a guy who was in the office prior to you. And unfortunately, the series of events that came after that, I really do feel bad for him, because it was a really, really bad situation that turned even worse. So he's no longer here, and he knows he has a position here always, because I really liked him. I enjoyed working with him.
Me too.
But even then, it was, him calling out the technicians, and it was saying, well, why did you become a tech? And it was like, oh, wait. And then he was phenomenal. Yeah. He was great. He was really good, and then obviously, he had to go, but we didn't get rid of him. Yeah. Outside sources got rid of him. Unfortunately. Yeah. He's still alive though. Don't think he's dead.
He's still with us.
Yeah. He's still with us. But that's what it is. I think that's, I've always looked at it here as if sales or interaction in that sense is the best where you need to be, let's create that for you or put you in a situation where you can thrive.
Yeah.
Because you're going to enjoy it more and you're going to, you're going to succeed every expectation because you actually like it.
Yeah.
Or I can put you in something you hate and of course you're going to fail.
Yeah.
Of course you're going to do crappy. Of course you're not going to like it. We
And
saw
leave.
that. Yeah. And we've seen that with guys.
Yeah.
They're going to get, they're going to get on you about that. Well, yeah, it's your job.
Yeah.
Of course we're going to get on you about that. You're not fulfilling your job, but then people take that as that.
Right.
So I think that's cool to hear. I really do like that.
Yeah.
Okay. So from there, these are always the fun experiences because I actually got to ask this. Another guy who was here, he had 2 kids, he had his girlfriend, and we lost office staff,
Yeah.
When he was on. And so it was literally me and him were working together. That was it. It was just me and him,
Yeah.
and he has 2 kids to provide for and he stuck through it, which I appreciate, which was really cool. Once again, when you're in business and you start your own business, guys, I'm just going to throw it out there now. You're not going to have people around forever. You do have to use people or they're going to help you get to that next level. And then they can't handle it more than that.
Yeah.
They hit their cap. They can't grow more. That's just what it is.
And that's okay.
It's absolutely okay. Some people can, and some people will stay for the entirety of it. I'll give an example of my dad. He joined a company 40 plus years ago. Same company. Okay. He's been there for 40 plus years. He never left. He worked in the warehouse. He went from the warehouse to now the CEO to now owning the company. The owner gave him the company. He gave him majority shares, so now he runs it. It's his. So it's really cool to see that, is you decide, can you handle the growth or you decide if you hit the ceiling. He could have became, the manager over the warehouse and stopped. That did not stop him. He ended up getting into the sales. He got into the operations. He ended up growing into the management, getting into the CEO position where he still was doing the sales and sales calls and traveling, to the other plants that he was over. So it was really cool to see that. But that was for 40 years he put in that time, right? So the reward is there, but are you willing to put it in? Are you willing to put in the grit, grind, and actually get it done?
Yeah.
So some people will hit that ceiling and then they will leave.
Yeah.
It's just what it is. They can't handle further growth.
Exactly.
And some people are terrified of it. Are you willing to step up to that position to be the CEO? Some will say, nah, I think I'm good over the warehouse.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that. I don't want to put in that much time.
Yeah.
I'm happy where I'm at. But for you, we went through these experiences. We hit a bump in the road. That was rough. What's cool is nothing lasts forever. Pain never lasts forever.
Yeah.
Right? If you didn't know that, it's true. It's crazy.
It's always spring coming up.
Yeah, it always, right? So I had, over those years, it was a roller coaster ride.
Yeah.
To where we are. But you got to see this roller coaster ride. You got to be a part of it at one point. And I'm sure it's just, there's going to be another one that comes up. But it's going to be cool because it'll be easier because we have more resources now.
Yes, we do.
But what were you thinking then? Everything was crumbling around us.
Yeah.
What did you think?
I remember thinking how okay I felt about it. And whether or not if that was messed up on my end to feel so relaxed about it, because at that point we had already started to transition me into a more fitting role.
Yeah.
Right. There were obviously concerns about like services, losing like 3 techs in 2 months, one of them being a tech manager. You know what I mean? It's like, it's concerning, but I remember thinking to myself, I'm like, should I be more worried? Cause like, I'm not cause cause I remember coming in this morning, I remember you coming in to work in the morning and you asked me, you said, hey, how would you feel if this person doesn't work here anymore? And this is like a tech manager. It's like somebody's been here for a while who was kind of training me on the tech side. And I remember thinking, I was like, we'll be fine. Yeah. And I said it out loud and I was like, okay, maybe I should express some concern. I was like, oh, what happened? Yeah. I was
like, cool. Awesome.
But I remember thinking, honestly, I remember thinking, okay, this opened up a lot more doors for me here a lot quicker.
Mm-hmm.
Because as weird as that sounds, it's like I have an opportunity to step in and basically be able to help you control the situation a lot faster than I would have if those people had stayed, because they had more experience. Yeah. And I know we just went through like tenure doesn't really mean value. You know what I mean? But they did have that, and they knew the business, and we had those guys to like kind of rely on for like some of the newer guys coming on.
Well, they kind of.
It's what it's supposed to be, right?
In perspective, that's what it was, but it wasn't.
Yeah, I get it. That's how it was on paper. But them leaving, I just me in my mindset, I saw, okay, like this is my chance to step in. Yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah. And it's like, even though I was moving more on the sales side, I still attached myself to the office side to be like a pillar in here, right? And just to be that, like, you know, consistency is key. It's like people call in, it's like I could be calm, answer their questions, right? I wasn't biased either way. I just want to do a good job, be thorough with the clients, you know what I mean? Yep. So I saw it as like a huge opportunity, actually.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Okay. That's always good to hear. Yeah. I mean, it's, you know, but some people in high stress situations, they crumble and run. Yeah. You know, and they hide. They want to go in their corner. And other people kind of look at it, and how I look at every situation. And it was because of the past pattern that happened was we would lose a guy. It would suck for a little bit, right? And by sucking, it would just be more work. Yeah. It didn't actually suck. It wasn't like somebody left and it was this horrible experience. It was, well, we just have more workload now. Yeah. You know, but we always do better afterwards.
Always.
And that was the craziest thing is you always, there was always just and it was always a big step, which was cool because we end up losing 3 people in succession, right? Boom, boom, boom. And then we just skyrocketed. Yeah. It was literally, we were a hot air balloon and we had 3 cables holding us down and we cut them. And at first the wind was blowing really hard and it kind of sucked and it was kind of throwing us everywhere. Yeah. But then suddenly we just took off and you couldn't control that. And it was really cool to see that. You know, so everyone who is going through a hard time, or you have your first employee, we did an episode on that. Yeah. You know, that employee probably is not going to be around forever. They're probably going to hit their ceiling. They're not going to be patient enough to stick it through. They're going to hit high stress situations. You're going to bring on another person. They're going to feel threatened. Yeah. Whatever it is, you got to realize that's part of the growth. You're going to go through a really, really hard time multiple times. Yeah. And you got to realize it's not going to last forever, and eventually will be better if you stick with it. And I think that is the cool thing, you know, with everybody here is we were willing to stick through those situations. Oh, yeah. And we came out on the other side 1,000 times better than we were before. Yeah. You know, and that's cool to hear that you were level-headed, and it was kind of like, okay.
Yeah. Nice. And I think I've told you this too. It's like, I feel like I can't be shaken. I would just respond differently given the circumstances. Yeah. Like, for example, like if, let's say they all left and you came to me panicking. Yeah. You were like, Aaron, what are we going to do? Like, I don't know what I'm going to do. Yeah. If you said that to me, it's like, well, I know what I'm going to do now. Yeah. After listening to that, I'm going to start looking for another job. Because
you're like, I'm out of here.
Looks like you're about to run. Yeah. You know, but you were calm and you were like, hey, this is what happened. How do you feel about it? And it's like, I feel okay. You know, it's like, we're still going to get our job done. We're still going to succeed.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause I mean, and that's, I've always looked at it that way is, you know, we lost guys, we lost the office staff, we lost people there, people here, and it's happened to me in the past. And so when that does happen, it's always, my concern more is for the people who are here. You know, it doesn't bother me. Yeah. You know, it affects my hours and time with my family, but that at the end of the day, I know that's all going to come back around and it'll get, you know, evened out. But, you know, I always look at other people and say, what are they thinking? What are they going through? Yeah. I'm okay.
See, that's the way I am.
Yeah. Like I'll go put in the 20 plus hours. it's nothing new to me. That doesn't scare me. You know, it scares everyone else. But for me, I'm like, whatever. As long as I'm there and I can, you know, I put my kids to bed, I can go work all night.
We're okay. Yeah.
They don't even know if I'm there or not, you know? So whatever, you know, I'll sleep on Sunday. That's okay with me.
Yeah.
You know, so, you know, I see that, but that scares a lot of people. That makes a lot of people crumble, you know, and that's cool to hear it and see that. But, you know, a lot of people, that's my big concern. It's like, what are you thinking in that situation? You know, like,
my first thought, it's like, okay, what do I do? What do I need to do differently to be the number 2 here?
Yeah.
That was literally the first thing in my head. It's like, how do I get so good where it's like, I am no longer the new office guy and I'm the number 2,
yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And that's why I've been working so hard, you know? And it's not really for the status of it. It's just the opportunity that comes with it. You see what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. No, and I'm that same way. You know, I see those situations. I see something happen. You know, I'm there. I'm gonna take that head on. I want to face that.
Yeah.
And for me, if you put me in a work situation where I just have to put in labor and time. Oh, dude, I'm gonna kill you. I mean, I will literally outwork everybody. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You know, and I have someone on my side, you know, my wife, which is great, is I would just sit down with her and say, hey, look, I got to put in 18-hour days. And you know what she'd say? Okay.
Yeah.
Can I go to Mexico? Sure.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like, and life goes on, you know? And so I think that's a huge help. But, you know, if it's a labor situation, a tech leaves, have fun, guys. You know, I'll take that on.
Yeah.
You know, now if it was another situation, that would be a little bit harder. You know, system crash, you know, that stuff, that would probably be a little bit more devastating.
Yeah.
In some cases, but when it comes to hours and time and labor, nah, I think I'm good.
Exactly.
That doesn't faze me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been through worse, you know, I definitely have.
Exactly.
So, you know, but that's awesome to hear. That's really cool to hear. Do you want to ask me anything?
I'll start thinking about it as this goes on towards the end. Nothing off the top of my head.
Okay. I know it's the interview about you, but I gotta throw it out there if you wanted to ask me any questions.
Check it back in with me before we close. So I'll start thinking of stuff as we keep talking.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So now we go through this crazy situation. We come out on the other side.
Yeah.
You know, now to where you are today and how everything's going. How are you feeling about it now? How are you feeling about here? What's going on in your head?
This is the only good thing I have going for me in my life.
Oh gosh.
No, but seriously, it's like, I mean, look at what we're doing here.
Yeah.
We just did a podcast episode with, you know, Technician Alabama. Last week it was Canada.
Yeah.
I'm going to the Rodent Academy next week. We're implementing new ways to do estimates for all these insanely profitable add-on services. That's a better service for the customer.
Yeah.
We're looking at growing and expanding.
Yeah.
People ask me, I think we talked about this. People ask me what I do on a daily basis. It's like,
well,
text me and find out that day.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, you know, next week, I'm planning to be a lot more mobile, you know, like 3 full days. I'm going to be out making contacts where it's like, I haven't been doing that as much as I want to, because I've been focusing on a lot more of like the bids and like the submission of stuff that takes like 4 or 5 months, which is fantastic. Because once that stuff starts rolling in, we'll be able to fill these guys up and hire more people.
Yep.
Right. But the freedom, you know, we talked about freedom a lot, and I really feel like I do have the freedom to create my own success in whatever way that is.
Yeah.
Because like, I know that you would never like, and I really appreciate this. It's like, you don't question like my tactics or what I'm implementing, because the intent and effort is there and you see that.
Yeah.
And I could tell that you see that.
Yeah.
You know, I'll still check in with you and let you know like, hey, this is kind of what I have going this week. This is who I'm talking to. This is what I'm going. And it's always like, cool, sounds good. You know, I can help you with this, or you're coming with me to the, you know, appointment next week. And I love that, you know?
Yeah.
But no, it's so open.
Yeah.
You know, and especially hiring on Malachi.
Yeah.
Name dropping because he'll probably be on soon. So
Hey, we gotta
priming him for that.
Yeah.
It's really making me see the bigger picture. And it's like each time I feel like I get out of the binoculars, it's like I find myself pulling it away again and again. It's like my vision just keeps opening and opening.
Yeah.
You know, because now we're talking about getting other people to come on the podcast and doing all this crazy stuff and setting up a booth at Pest World.
Yeah.
Just set it on the air, just putting it into existence there.
Oh man, now I have to.
Yeah.
Now we have to.
But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, it's so crazy thinking that 9 months ago, I think 8-9 months ago, I was, you know, quote unquote pushing papers. Not that that's bad, but I don't like doing that.
Yeah.
You know, and I just was another guy here, you
Yeah.
know, and now it feels like I really have part of my hands on the steering wheel, and it's like I can really make a difference here, you know?
Yeah. No, that is cool. And I like that because that's always something I've tried to allow, you know, is you're focused on what you're focused on and you're taking that ownership, right? Something goes wrong, you take that ownership, you take that responsibility. Something goes right, you take that ownership, you take that responsibility, you know? And I think that's really cool to hear is that's exactly where it's going and where it needs to go. And you're handling it and you're doing those things. It's invaluable, right? I mean, I think that's what everybody's looking for, but it's so hard to find.
Yeah.
You know, and so hearing that story, I mean, even going back and hearing I end up coming in literally at a perfect time, you know, like I don't think the timing could have been any better. If I was a week off, which we were thinking about it, just so you know, maybe this isn't a question you're going to ask, but now you know, and I think I've told you before, is, you know, we were looking at you for a long time. It wasn't like we came in and I'm always looking for, you know, somebody who's standing out, you know, and it's funny because there's some machines up by the front. I'd hop on an elliptical machine right there next to, you know, to the front there or go work out on that other side.
Oh yeah. You guys are always there.
And I'd pay attention. I'd listen in. I'd hear the conversations.
Oh, really?
I wasn't like listening to specifically what you were saying because I didn't
like the tone and how it was flowing.
I didn't care about that. Yeah, I didn't care what you were saying, but it was how are you interacting with people? How are you, you know, really that kind of play? It's what's going on there.
Yeah.
You know, and seeing that. Because at that time I was actually looking for sales. I was not looking for, I was looking for office, but I was really wanting a salesperson on.
Yeah.
Because that's where Ron came into play, right? He ended up just getting pulled on, and it was just the delay before you got on to where he came on. So he came on a little bit before, and he got it, and then you came on. But the roles, he wouldn't have been in the office, but he would have been just a tech.
Yeah,
you know, and that's what I would have put him as.
Interesting.
But I was paying attention. I was looking at you. I was looking at Presley. I was looking at you guys because I was like, hey, you know, there's some potential there, especially in the office or in other positions.
Yeah.
You know, they're already used to being inside. They're doing these things. They're already talking to people. The communication skills there. So I was paying attention. I was sitting there listening.
Yeah.
You know, and then with everybody, you know, people leaving or Alex, you know, at that time, she was just really sucking it up. She was doing, you know, not up to her potential. She wasn't doing everything she could have been doing.
Yeah.
And so, that was, I sat back and I was just paying attention. I was just watching to see if it was going to go somewhere, and it did. I'm glad it did. I'm glad it worked out perfectly.
It's crazy. Even, you know, I talked about this in the beginning of this episode. I still text some of the, you know, guys I'm friends with at 24, and it's like, it's so bad over there. You know, and they talk about like, man, like, you know, you were like, you should have been next, like this and that. It's like, you know, they should have put you in that spot. I'm like, I know. It's like, yeah, they should have.
I know.
And I'm glad they didn't, you know.
Yeah, you know, because that opportunity here, and we don't even know what it's going to be, right?
Yeah.
And that's the unknown. Yeah. And some people look at that as a scary thing, but it's the unknown of what it can be.
Yeah.
Not what it's not going to be. Because it's not stopping. We're not stopping. We're just going further, right?
Yeah.
You know, I can't wait to sit down with this guy that's literally in front of our office.
Yeah.
hopefully he listens to the podcast. This would be great.
Yeah.
And he can find out who I am, because he's one cocky son of a bitch.
Okay.
You know, and I can't wait to sit down and talk to him and deny him.
Yeah.
You know, I would really like it to be a bigger company, but this is a start. This is one of those steps. You know, this was always something I've wanted to do. And I wanted to sit down with someone who says, I want to buy you out.
Yeah.
And I always wanted to be that guy that says, no. And watch out. Because we're coming.
Yeah.
And we're coming hard.
Yeah.
So watch out.
Because now we know.
Very sexual there, but
I wasn't gonna say anything.
Yeah, no, I know what everyone's thinking.
Yeah.
But that was, you know, but that is really cool to see what we've created. And that guy's watched us. He watched us move from that little sliver of an office
in front of his eyes.
He's watched the same colored truck show up, and now 2 different colored trucks show up.
Yeah.
With 2 different logos on it. You know, he's seen that. And so that's really cool to understand that somebody's watching outside of this, that I get to go deny and actually flip the script and try to buy him, because that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
Is I'm going to try to take his pest control company away. But it's really cool to see that. And it's even better to have people involved in that. And, you know, for me, I share that stuff and I try to be open as much as possible. I kind of see people's reactions and then I'll pull back if they react differently. But I share that not because it's look at me, as I share that as look at us.
Yeah.
You know, look at what we've created. I can't do this alone. And I've said that a million times.
Yeah.
You know, that guy didn't do it alone. He's acting like he literally carried all the solar panels up on roofs and he was doing it by himself.
Yeah.
You know, he's got 20 arms and he's just going to town on this thing. And it's like, dude, you didn't do that by yourself.
No.
Stop acting as if you were the sole guy in this situation.
Yeah.
You have a team of people around you that's building that business and you're acting as if they don't even exist.
Yeah.
You know, it's cool that you did that and I applaud you for it. But at the same time, I hope he's giving some of that credit and passing that on.
Hope.
I do hope that. I don't know if it's true.
Yeah.
But that's what I see, you know, and having those conversations, you know, and I don't know if that makes the office worried or you hear like, oh, this guy's going to try to buy us out. But for me, it's like, dude, I can't wait to come back and be like,
yeah,
you should have saw his face.
Yeah.
You should have saw his face. It was priceless. He was freaking out.
Yeah.
He was sweating. And I'm putting that person in that situation where we're coming for you. You know, you better be scared. We're better than you.
Yeah.
And it's not pride, but it's we as a team are willing to fail and learn and grow more than your team is.
Yeah.
You know? And one of my favorite movies, I hope you've seen it because it's a great scene, okay? It's 300.
I love that movie.
Oh, dude, one of my favorite movies.
Yeah.
And the very first one, so he brings his 300 Spartans.
Yes.
And he meets up with the locals, the Greeks, the Romans, and they're all standing around.
Yes.
And he says, you brought me a bunch of, like, these
like,
are your
what's
guys?
Your profession? I'm a potter.
Yep. And he's
Blacksmith.
And then he says, Spartans, you know,
Yeah.
who are we? And then they scream, right?
Yeah.
And they're all at the same time in sync. And that's what I look at it as is you gotta, who's your team? Who's the people backing you? You got where you are, you know, and that's cool, but you don't have that unity that we can have or that we already have.
I'm sorry to laugh. So he's like Xerxes and you're like Leonidas.
Oh, dude, I'm going to throw a spear in his face. Yeah. He has no idea, but he's going to bleed. He's going to bleed and everyone's going to know he's not a god.
Got it.
That's exactly what's going to happen at this meeting because he's going to say, hey, I want to buy you out. And I'm going to say, oh, that's so, I thought you actually wanted to meet with me because I thought you wanted to sell me your pest control company because your solar company is doing so good.
Yeah.
So he's going to cry. He's going to cry on this. He may get offended and walk out. So we'll see what ends up happening. But, you know, I look at that and I say I say us. Yeah. It's not me. You know, like when we had a situation where a customer, why aren't you take pride in being the owner? Because it's not me.
Yeah.
It's it's us as a whole are doing this. It's not me. It's not the pride that I own the company, because who cares if I own the company? Who cares if I take the pride in that? I'm not going to go out there and knock the door and be like, you want to know how much money we made last year? Like this guy does.
Yeah.
You know how many employees I have? And it's like, why are you telling people that?
Yeah.
Why are you bringing that up? You're singling yourself out and trying to pull yourself above everybody.
Yeah.
And I look at it as, no, we're we're united and we're bringing that.
Yeah.
It's us and it's a we. And I like hearing that from your story and going through that. That's really cool to even hear in some of those sticky situations. It didn't crumble. It wasn't anything like that. It was like, okay, cool. Let's take this. I got this opportunity.
Yeah.
Let's make something of it.
Yeah.
Someone's getting brought on and it's like, sweet. How much more can we do?
Yeah.
Where other people hear at times, it was, I'm bringing somebody on and they're like,
Yeah.
am I losing my job? And it's like, no, we're growing.
Yeah.
Like,
Did they say you're losing your job?
yeah, we need to grow. We need to make your job easier
Yeah.
on you. It's overwhelming right now.
Yeah.
Let's bring more people on to help. Let's bring on more people to grow. Let's make this thing crazy. Let's grow it as much as we can.
Yeah.
And I think that's where a lot of the success is it's us as a whole, is it everybody here understand. I hope they understand that.
Yeah.
And I hope they see that is I'm making a difference and we're growing it together.
Yeah.
It's not Daniel's growing it. I'm not growing it.
Yeah.
I'm not the guy who's, filling out bid paperwork and sending all that stuff and signing paperwork. That's you guys. So that is, it's cool. And now I hope I do appreciate it so much.
Yeah. Thank you.
And everybody here it's not me.
Yeah.
It's we.
Yeah.
And I hold that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And I think there's so much truth to that. And you were talking about, I hope everybody gets or understands like that's the idea.
Yeah.
Like we're all part of it. Unfortunately, it's hard for the average employee to feel that way. The cool thing is once we set the culture and everybody, the more people that are on board, it's easier to buy in for those people who aren't. We've seen the people who weren't bought in, who are bought in now, and how much different of an experience it is having them on and how much they're contributing. But even to your point, it's like if you said, "Hey, Aaron, we need to talk," something's going on, like come in the office, and you were like, "Hey, we just got an offer. Someone wants to buy the company. I think I'm going to sell it." I'd be like, "Okay, so what comes next?"
Yeah, right.
It's like the cool thing is, and I don't mean it in any disrespect, but it's like I know no matter what, I'll be able to take care of myself. You see what I'm saying?
No, but that's what I want to hear.
Yeah.
Is that doesn't offend me. That's no respect, because I want to train guys and I want to treat you in a way and help you in a way that you have the opportunity to leave.
Yeah.
But you choose not to.
Exactly. That's where I'm at.
Yeah. And that's what I like, because if I can get you into a situation where I have literally everything I need to start my own company or to leave, but I choose not to.
Yeah.
That's perfect. I did what I was meant to do.
Yeah.
I did what my goals are, right? Because I love seeing that progression.
Yeah.
Even the guy who left, and I don't hate him. I think that's great.
Yeah.
I think that's phenomenal. He has a better position. He's in a different spot. I think that's awesome. I don't think he's going to succeed, and that's not because I hate him.
Yeah.
It's the one thing I told him, and it was very crucial, is stay in your lane, focus on one thing. Don't focus on 100 things. And he focuses on 100 things. So that's the reason why I don't think he will succeed 100%. But
no, it makes sense.
But when it goes, when we get down to it, I provided him with everything he needed to leave. And then some. And he chose to leave. I can't be mad at you for that.
Well, there you go. Exactly.
Yeah. Because I helped you. I helped you get to that point.
Yeah.
And so I like that. I saw him go from an apartment complex to a duplex to a bigger duplex, which may have been some bad financial decisions, which I told him not doing some things, but I got to see that growth.
Yeah.
He went from a car that was literally barely running to being able to finance another vehicle, that he owned. I enjoy that. I enjoy seeing people succeed. I enjoy seeing people grow. I enjoy that. That is huge for me.
Yeah.
I like that. I thrive off of that stuff. So if I can see someone grow and become something better, become happier, whatever it is, I enjoy it probably more seeing you happy than you're probably happy.
Oh yeah. Wow.
So I see you succeed and you're doing great and you're excited. I go home, I'm excited for you, so that's that's a big factor, for me, pushing people even harder, sometimes even getting on them.
Yeah.
Right. Where I'm a little, maybe rough sometimes with people. And it's not because I hate you. It's because I think you can do so much better. And when you do, they get joy from it and they get to see that. And I get to see that too.
Yeah.
And I enjoy that.
Yeah.
So, okay, we're going to close because we've been going forever.
Yeah. Oh geez.
So do you have a question for me? All right. We are going to take this podcast and break it into two-parter because of how long we ended up taking on this episode. So be prepared to listen to part 2 on the interview with Aaron and Daniel. This episode is all about Aaron and kind of his experiences and kind of get to know him a little bit more as one of the hosts on the D and A Pest Control podcast. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram. You can send us an email to ask any questions to Aaron, to me, especially with what we talked about today. You can definitely reach out to us and ask Aaron any questions about his sales background or some of the experiences he had even with us here. But you can reach us at any of those. DMing us on Instagram is going to be the best, but you can also email or go to our website and send us a message through there. Or you can even be a guest. We've had wonderful guests on so far. Even last year, we had a ton of guests. So don't be shy to reach out to us and ask us to be on the podcast. We'd love to hear from any technicians, anybody in the office, really anybody out there. So please feel free to reach out to us. Also, please send a review, share this on your Instagram, share this on your Facebook, spread the word. We love giving you this information. We love, diving into people's lives and their lifestyle and different pest control methods and bringing you that information. So please feel free to reach out to us with anything like that. And also put a like, on our posts that we're doing with Instagram, but also sending us, put a review on, send us to your friends, send us to your other technician buddies, send us to someone who's in the industry. We'd love to spread the word and get the message out of what we're doing and what we're trying to accomplish here. But thank you for listening to this part 1 on the D and A Pest Control podcast.